Peace, family. Peace, family. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where we break down the most controversial topics, the most engaging debates, the most interesting subjects going on in the world today. And tonight is absolutely no different. Well, there's one different. It's actually early in the morning. We had, because of some travel maneuvers, to take things to a different time. But I wanted to make sure that you all got the stories and the information that you needed. So here we are. Thank you all for supporting me. I know y'all be watching this on the replay, many of you, although some of y'all are up very early watching this, and I am grateful for that as well. Thank you so much for the support as always. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're so inclined, hit the join button, and we will continue to rock as we are. Again, I'm so grateful for your support. You might also hear something crazy in my voice. As always, I'm sick. It's that time of year. Your boy gonna be sick. I'm on the road. I'm around people, and I'm sick. So, and I got a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old. So between all them things, your boy is a little down for the count. But don't worry about it. We still rocking. We still kicking it. Lot going on in the world today. And again, the world is on fire. I say that so much now, and I don't say it as like a talking point. I don't say it as like a joke. I don't say it as like just an expression. More than maybe any time in recent memory, I really feel like there's fires everywhere, even in our immediate circle, and it feels like one is feeding the other. Now, that's just the nature of oppression, right? Capitalism, racism, white supremacy, more specifically, all these things, these systems work in a way where one crisis is feeding the other. One exploitation over here is feeding an exploitation over there. One trauma or crisis over here is literally underwritten by another one over there. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know. Lately, though, I've been feeling as if these crises are getting bigger, the fires are growing, and they're starting to connect. So what I'm seeing with ICE, what I'm seeing with the elections, what I'm seeing overseas, all of it seems to be connecting in ways that are frankly alarming. But hopefully we sound the alarm. Hopefully people stand up. Hopefully people speak out. Hopefully we organize in a way that will lead to something different. And that's part of what we do here at Night School, right? We try to put a spotlight on it by giving more information. Anyway, let's get to it. And again, I have a sore throat, so forgive my voice and my pauses. But let's get to it. We're going to start tonight right back where we were last week, and that is Minneapolis. 700 ICE agents are leaving Minneapolis, and the fight over who controls immigration enforcement is now holding up federal funding. Late last night, all eyes were on Capitol Hill, where immigration has become the pressure point in a high-stakes budget showdown. Minnesota leaders and the federal government appear to be resettling their relationship, even as the trust on the ground, frankly, is completely shaken. Federal officials confirmed that nearly 700 immigration and customs enforcement agents, also known as ICE, are being pulled from Minneapolis. Now, this is a big deal because the move follows weeks of backlash after the deaths of several Americans during encounters with federal agents. I'm talking about Keith Porter. I'm talking about Renee Good. I'm talking about Alex Preddy. This is all according to local reporting and civil rights advocates. Now, families and community leaders say during these encounters, the victims were not committing any crimes. When we watch the video footage, it also supports this claim that they were not committing crimes. They were observers, they were resistors, they were protesters. Sometimes they were just people helping, but a lot of the violence, a lot of the just all of the kind of altercation, every part of the altercation that we saw was initiated or exacerbated by the agents, not by these American citizens. And I keep using the word American citizens not to act as if they have higher value, but as citizens, but to suggest that even if ICE were doing what they said they were going to do, even if we stipulated that ICE is here to protect Americans from those evil invaders, Americans are the ones getting killed too. Anyway, one trained observer who tracks ICE and customs and border protection activity says her efforts to document agents and protect law-abiding citizens led to her being doxxed and losing her global entry status. And she put that in public statements. Now, at the same time, the Trump administration's border czar, Tom Homan, says cooperation with Minnesota officials has actually increased since he took over operations from Greg Bovino. Now, Homan has publicly praised Tim Walz and local leaders as well, calling the coordination unprecedented. Now, Homan's key request is clear: allowing ICE agents to arrest undocumented immigrants who are already being held in local jails. The thing about that is that public opinion on it is shifting. A recent Harvard-Harris poll found that 67% of Americans support local authorities handing over jailed undocumented immigrants to federal agents. Notably, 50% of Democrats surveyed said they agree. Oof, what a country. Minneapolis became a flashpoint during last week's government funding fight between the House and the Senate Democrats. While Congress agreed to fund most federal agencies through September, lawmakers now have fewer than 9 days to finalize the budget for the Department of Homeland Security. I'm sure you can imagine why. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem has already agreed to require body cameras for immigration agents in Minnesota. That's according to the DHS statements. They have to do something. Look, we'll put on body cameras. Look, we won't just be these crazy masked invaders with no accountability. Not entirely. We'll still be that, but we'll wear a camera. Anyway, Democrats want that requirement written into the law, along with a mandate that the cameras be used. This is another important distinction. Noem is arguing that they'll wear body cameras, but requiring them to wear body cameras and not requiring them to turn on the body cameras is foolish. It's foolishness. This is the kind of game that the Trump Justice Department, the Trump Homeland Security Department, the Trump, you going down the list, it plays, right? Okay, fine. We'll wear the cameras, but we won't be required to turn them on. What the hell are you going to do with the camera if it ain't on? Anyway, Democrats also want judicial warrants required for immigration operations and a ban on agents wearing masks while on duty. Republicans, of course, as I said, are pushing back hard on both demands. House Republicans are also trying to add their own priorities into the DHS spending bill, including a proposal that would require proof of citizenship to vote. Once again, they're smuggling in other stuff. They've been fighting for this this voter ID stuff for a long time. They're trying to find another way to do it. Again, I know people out there saying, well, if you're a voter and you're a citizen, then you have ID. And if you have ID, then why not just show the ID? That makes sense in the abstract. The problem is, one, everybody doesn't have an ID. And I'm not talking about undocumented people. I'm not talking about non-citizens. I'm talking about there are plenty of citizens who don't have IDs. And to get IDs, sometimes, particularly the older folk, I'm thinking about my mother, for example, she would have to go to Farmville, Virginia, and find some old document from the 1930s that would be very difficult to find and very expensive to find. So now she's paying to be able to affirm her right to vote. My mother would be paying to vote. That is what we call a poll tax. It has been for a long time illegal, not that long, but 60 years. It has been illegal to us to apply poll taxes to the voting process. We need laws that make it easier to vote, not laws that reduce the number of people who would be able to vote. If you really want proof of citizenship as a non-starter, right, you gotta have an ID. Then make IDs free for everybody. If you make them free, we might be able to have a different conversation. Then we might be able to have a different conversation. But until then, this is just another fight, another battle that's really a smokescreen for something else. People say, what about fraud? What about fraud? What about fraud? That chances of voter fraud in a U.S. election are infinitesimal and frankly, far less likely than voter suppression. In other words, the most likely thing that's going to happen in the U.S. election is that somebody who can vote is denied the right to vote. They're getting pushed out of the line. Not that somebody who doesn't belong in the line is getting added. It's just not true. Anyway, if lawmakers cannot agree on DHS funding, immigration enforcement in Minnesota and beyond could become the center of the next government shutdown fight, and accountability further hangs in the balance. More fires, more fires, more fires. Let's keep going, though. We got some other stuff that we need to talk about that I think is of the utmost importance as well, family. The Supreme Court. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. This is just one of those weeks, one of those days, one of those years, one of those lifetimes, I guess. But it's just so exhausting to see everything going on. And again, the fires are connected. Anyway, the Supreme Court just gave Democrats a major opening in California, and Republicans say the game is now officially rigged. Oh, brother. On Wednesday, the U.S. Supreme Court allowed California to use a new voter-approved congressional map that favors Democrats in upcoming elections. That's according to the Associated Press. The decision blocks a last-minute challenge from state Republicans, joined by, of course, the Trump administration. The court denied the appeal without explanation, which is common on its emergency docket, and no justices dissented. This ruling keeps in place districts that could flip up to 5 House seats currently held by Republicans, potentially reshaping the balance of power in Congress. The decision also highlights a growing double standard over redistricting. Earlier, as y'all know, and we reported it right here, the Supreme Court allowed Texas to use a Republican-friendly congressional map for 2026, even though a lower court found that it likely discriminated based on race. Conservative Judge Samuel Alito wrote in December that both Texas and California appear to be drawing maps for political advantage, which the court has ruled is not grounds for a federal lawsuit. Court is like, we see what y'all doing, but it's not illegal. Republicans argued California's map improperly relied on race. The lower court rejected that claim in a 2-1 decision, clearing the way for the map to move forward. This fight is part of a nationwide redistricting arms race. Last year, at Donald Trump's urging, of course, Texas Republicans redrew their maps to gain as many as 5 seats. So Texas was like, look, if y'all going to rewrite districts to take away voters and increase Republican power, California's like, well, we could do that too. So California Governor Gavin Newsom responded by pushing for a counter move. But unlike in Texas, California said, we want to do something, I don't know, what's the word? Democratic, fair, just. So we're going to require voter approval for our process, which they did. They got it. Well, anyway, Newsom is also widely seen as a potential 2028 presidential contender, filing for, and that's not an unimportant point, by the way. Again, this is an arms race, not just for Republicans, not just for the Congress, but also this is Gavin Newsom showing, look, I will stand up to the Republicans. I'll stand up to Donald Trump. And even though Donald Trump shouldn't be on the ballot in 2028 because of those pesky constitutional restrictions, just in case he is, please know I'm here with y'all too. Anyway, filing for California congressional primaries begins Monday, meaning candidates will soon be running under these new district lines. This ruling lands as Trump calls for nationalizing elections in multiple cities. You'll be shocked to know which cities. He says places like Philadelphia, places like Detroit, places like Atlanta. Those sound like some black. Those are like 3 of the blackest cities in America. I'm surprised they say, you know what, let's do it just in Harlem too. You know what I mean? Just pick some black ass Democratic cities run by Democratic mayors. But we know exactly what this is happening, why this is happening, and this is happening as Steve Bannon claims. ICE agents will be present near polling locations during the midterms. It sounds like intimidation. Sounds like restricting. ICE is starting to sound, not starting to sound, ICE is continuing to sound exactly how we think they are. Anyway, both claims have raised alarms among voting rights groups. I mean, at some point, we got to say, what the hell are we doing? You know what I mean? At some point, we got to say, what the hell are we doing? Anyway, we're going to keep it pushing here. I want to remind you all and thank you all for the work that y'all do here on Night School. I say that y'all do because, yeah, I'm up and I'm at it, but I do this with your support. Even right now, hundreds of people are watching live. At night, it's thousands of people, and I know thousands will watch this on the replay, and I just want to thank you all for the support. I also want to remind you all that I have a new show, a nice new show. It's called In This Thing Together. It's on Patreon. My wife and I, Dr. Melissa Valle, have launched a show. And I think you all will like it. I think you all will appreciate what we're trying to do here. I'm going to show you all a quick clip just because I think y'all might like what we on, you know. This is from excuse me, this is from episode 7. Which I think was a fun episode. I thought it was a fun episode. And so I'm going to show you just a little clip from it. I'm pulling it up as we speak. But the show's called In This Thing Together. We talk about life, family, love, relationships, community. This is not a relationship show. This is a show about all of us. While it's sort of organized around the life of me and my wife, obviously, because it's our life. It's also about all of us. Anyway, I'm going to show just a quick clip and see what y'all think about it. See if y'all are feeling it. If you are, let me know. If you're not, I don't care because I'm sensitive. All right, y'all, watch this.
Right. So for me, it's like when you send me that ETA notice, I'm like, okay, I'm headed home, whatever. So there's a communication there. Again, I would only use it in the extreme case. So I don't have an issue with people sharing that. And again, do what works for your relationship.
And I don't think people are honest about the safety thing. I don't think you're not using that for safety all the time.
You think people be lying?
People be bullshitting. You're not. Come on, like you're not using it 24/7 safety. Like that's just not.
Yeah.
I just don't think people are honest. Like it's not all about safety because the reality is like you just don't need that much surveillance for an adult person for safety. I mean, and if anything happens, especially I don't know. I just don't.
Is it the sign of a bad relationship?
I don't want to be that judgy about it. I mean, people have their reasons. I just think that maybe we're just not being honest about, why we think that we need that. Like, are we concerned that folks are just out in the street and that they're doing something? Or
let me ask a different question: is it possible to have a healthy relationship and be tracking someone's location?
I mean, I'm sure. I don't think that's one of those flags to me. Well, no, I think it probably is a flag. I don't necessarily think it is that in its existence will absolutely mean that something is doomed.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, that's just, I think she asked because a bunch of people talk about it. It's a very common thing, like it's that people are often, and I wasn't really aware.
I'll add another layer to this as a dude. Entering a relationship with somebody, entering a relationship with you, because it's the only time it's ever happened. I've never communicated where I was going to be with nobody else.
Oh, I'm about to say, where's this going?
Okay. No, bad. Like I've never communicated that where I was going with nobody. And when you share a life with somebody, when you share a house with somebody, or you share a kid with somebody,
right?
You got to say where you are.
Right.
You just do. But as men, and again, I'm not speaking for every man ever, but in my experience, the men that I know, we all have had some trepidation or some anxiety, or maybe just a little bit of reluctance about having to check in or say where we are or say where we're going.
It's giving mommy issue. It's a little mommy issue.
How so?
Because I feel like there's a lot of that has to do with this feeling of like, I don't know, people had sort of particularly, strong moms or something like that. Those are the ones who seem to be particularly resentful of having to just share basic information. It seems like, like, you can't control me, woman. Like, it feels a little like intense. Like,
I don't think that's it.
Okay. I was like, sometimes I feel that it's like people seem to push back against a lot of things.
I mean, I'm not saying that none of what you're saying is true. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that I think for a lot of dudes, manhood for us signified being free.
Mm-hmm. It's control. It feels like control.
Or being able to make our own choices.
But you still can make your own choices. No one said you can't make your own choices.
It depends on your relationship. I think for some people and maybe it's because of where they're going, but for a lot of people, saying where they're going or saying what they're about to do or having to report or check in feels like an attack on their masculinity.
Yeah, but again, I still feel like that goes back to some old school mommy stuff. I feel like there's a way that having to, respond to a woman, I feel like it's very gendered too. I feel like having to, to answer to a woman. I feel like you're answering to somebody.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's not even necessarily something that is that big of a deal. Like you telling me that you're going to the supermarket. Like, I mean, first of all, I don't expect to also know every single move that you make, in a day, period. I don't want to know every move you make in a day.
Well, that's why it's not an issue for us. Because like, if you ask me where I'm going, it's usually either just conversation or it's where it's casual.
Or it's a scheduling thing.
Or it's a scheduling
like I'm
thing.
trying to figure out how to, navigate through this day.
Yeah.
given, and so I'm just curious about where you are.
But if you call me and I'm like, where you at? And I'm like, in West Philly. You're like, where in West Philly? And I'm like, 52nd Street. 52nd and what?
Oh
I'm like,
gosh.
are you here? Like, you have
Right,
something for me?
right.
Or, you know what I mean? Because I've seen it on that extreme where the person wants to know exactly where a person is pre-location sharing. Just, I want to know where you are every step of the way. And it's usually around some kind of insecurity.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking about the flip though. I was like, yeah, it would feel very oppressive if a man was constantly trying to figure out where I was all the time. I would definitely feel like this is like, first of all, I'm not your child. Again,
Right.
goes back to things.
But is that a daddy issue, or is it just you don't want people to?
I mean, the patriarchy makes that a little bit different. That flip doesn't work in that same kind of way, where that means like you're actually trying to be, a paternal figure, or you're trying to be the boss. You're trying to be.
Or I don't trust you.
Or you don't trust me, or you're trying to just be somebody who's very controlling and make sure that I can't move about freely in the world because you don't feel like I have the right to.
What a conversation. We were having a conversation that started around, we were talking about location sharing. No, papá. Sí, pero estoy trabajando, okay? Espera un momento. Sorry, the kid is up, so the jig is up. But what was I saying? Oh, we're talking about location sharing. So that becomes part of the conversation as well. Like, well, look, what does location share mean? Not just in the context of a relationship, but in the context of a broader society that reinforces surveillance and telling you that you have to track people to be safe. And oh my God, if you don't track your partner at all times, they could end up in the trunk. When there's so much conversation to be had. So we had some of it. We're gonna have more of it. But all of this is part of this show. See, espera, papa. But see, this is the multitasking we got to do in this life. No, quédate aquí. Trying to keep this kid off camera while giving him something to do while hosting a show live. Oh, what a life. Anyway, all this is part of the show In This Thing Together, which comes out every Monday on my Patreon channel, Marc Lamont Hill official Patreon. You can see the QR code right up there, that little QR code there. Or we got a link for you old school people like me who don't exactly know how to use a QR code all the time, or at least not effectively. Go to patreon.com/Marc Lamont Hill official. You can sign up, you can see the show, but you don't just get that. You get office hours, you get conversations, you get just my thoughts, you get, and another thing, a whole bunch of programs that cover the gamut of pop culture, politics, entertainment, everything. You can get it all right here on the Marc Lamont Hill official Patreon channel. I should say over there on the Marc Lamont Hill official Patreon channel. You also get after class, where I do live Q&A to answer your questions online. It's a fun time. It's a good stuff, man. But more importantly, not more importantly, but equally important, you get to support independent media. We say we want corporate media gone. We want mainstream outlets controlled and managed. Well, one way to do that is to support people like independent journalists, support people like independent content creators. There's lots to support. I'm not saying you got to support me, but support somebody. Absolutely. Anyway, family, it's good to see y'all, and we will talk again soon. Peace.